What if popcorn expanded infinitely? It all started with a small fox cub named Nilo, who had a passion for two things: science experiments and snacks. Living in a cozy home nestled beneath a birch tree with his equally curious parents, Nilo had recently discovered the wonders of popcorn. Something about watching a tiny kernel explode into a fluffy, crunchy cloud fascinated him. One afternoon, after watching a documentary on chain reactions and runaway systems, Nilo asked himself the question that would lead to the most chaotic day in Bluewood history. What if popcorn never stopped expanding? It began as a simple experiment. Nilo borrowed his dad's industrial-strength popcorn machine, usually used only for town fairs, and dragged it into the backyard. He modified the machine's pressure valve to be, well, slightly less safe, and filled the entire chamber with a new type of ultra-hydrated corn kernel he'd cultivated using a little too much fertilizer and perhaps some unapproved chemical enhancers. His goal? To make the biggest, puffiest piece of popcorn ever. But as the machine roared to life, something odd happened. Instead of a burst, there was a long, slow rumble, like a sleeping volcano yawning. Then came the pop. One kernel. Then two. Then 500. Within 30 seconds, popcorn filled the backyard. Within 2 minutes, it spilled over the fences. The machine didn't stop. Instead, it grew hotter, feeding on the energy of the popping process itself. It was as if each explosion triggered another. The kernels weren't running out. They were duplicating. By the time Nilo's parents came outside, the popcorn had already reached the windows. His mother gasped as a puffball smacked her in the face. His father dove into the growing pile, trying to yank the power cord. Too late. The popcorn had developed something horrifying: momentum. Neighbors gathered, at first amused, filming the expanding corn cloud for social media. Within 20 minutes, the entire street was buried waist-deep. Traffic stopped. Streetlights blinked behind piles of buttery chaos. Birds dived in, shrieked, and vanished beneath a white, salty tide. Scientists from the Bluewood Institute for Curious Anomalies watched the footage in disbelief. "It's a self-sustaining thermal puff reaction," exclaimed Dr. Laksa, furiously taking notes. "The kernels are feeding on the humidity in the air and the residual heat. It's a corn singularity." Attempts to stop the growth failed. Freezing it? The corn just cracked and multiplied. Burning it? A terrible idea. The smoke formed an aerosol butter that left everything smelling like snack food and did nothing to stop the expansion. Vacuum chambers, radiation, salt overload. Nothing worked. Nilo watched in horror as the mass crept towards downtown, flattening garden gnomes, swallowing mailboxes, and leaving behind a trail of crunch. In a desperate bid, the mayor ordered every microwave in town turned on at once, hoping to create a feedback loop and stall the kernels. But Nilo knew what had to be done. He built a trap. A giant, heat-proof chamber in the stadium, lined with steel and hunger. Popcorn only grows when it has space, he realized. If we can trap it and give it nowhere to go, it'll stop. It has to. Using snowplows, leaf blowers, and thousands of raccoons on leashes, long story, the townsfolk herded the popcorn into the stadium. With a final whump, the gate slammed shut. Inside, popcorn continued to expand. Up, up, pressing against the dome. And then, nothing. It had reached its limit. Nilo sighed in relief. His fur was matted with butter. His tail was sticky. But he had saved Bluewood. For now. Weeks later, the popcorn sphere remained, a gentle giant in the center of town. Kids bounced on it like a trampoline. Scientists took samples and swore never to let it happen again. Nilo returned to normal snacks. But sometimes, late at night, he'd glance at a bag of unpopped kernels and whisper, "Not today."